Now you really got me curious.
I was mostly just guessing for JJ based on his
Continue running it down.
That will be changing soon, Michael.
Yes, it will be. I look forward to the day where I don't sound like I'm talking to you guys from the other end of a hallway.
But not even any hallway, not like, the hallway in our house or your house or anybody else. It's like a Shining, like a hallway from The Shining.
Or the one from the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time where it twists as it goes down. Let's go with that.
It's a creepy hallway.
So, is it me, or I remember seeing this past AGDQ that hallway actually twists. It's not like a trick. Like if they found a way to glitch outside the game, and like if you look at the hallway, the paths are actually twisting.
So the rest of the temple is not at the same orientation from the start of it.
Yeah, it was weird looking.
Oh, I want to say episode 92 of We Were Gamers, a podcast.
A complicated podcast. Or one that is getting simpler, maybe. Which way are we headed with this?
Honestly, I don't know.
Straight to the top.
I like it.
We simplify some things, and then we add ambition in, and then all of a sudden, it gets more complicated again.
Ambition and ambiguity, those things always go together, right? The double A's.
Ambiguation.
I don't even think I could spell that to make an episode title out of it. Hey, we're back. This is Andrew.
And I am JJ, I guess. I wasn't sure if we were going around the horn or what was happening here.
We're experimenting. Either like I could do it or you could do it. So let's see how it runs down with going around the horn this time. That leaves one person.
I'm Michael.
There we go. Whew, that was rough. Maybe we don't do around the horn. Okay. We try again next time.
It's slow refinement. That's what we're about here. Gradual.
We really don't have to. Yeah, we really don't have to have it figured out until like 8 episodes from now. I feel like you have to have it dialed in at 100.
Yeah.
Or do we have to do like 100 from every time we change the pod up a little bit? So now we get 100 from when Michael got on.
I don't know. I like that metric, and I think that's a goal we have the ability to meet.
Okay. We can get there. Hey, how's everybody doing?
Pretty good. It was a good weekend.
Yeah?
Yeah, doing pretty good.
It was America's weekend in a way, right? Like the entire country got together to watch a thing.
And cheer against one team.
And
unless you were from...
very specifically, one almost specific person.
I thought I'd say 3, like 3 people. And that's about it.
Yeah.
I'd be fine and happy for the rest of everybody else in that organization, but like 3 people. Yeah. Well, if you're not from Boston, we all cheered when the Eagles won the big game. Do we get sued? We probably wouldn't get sued, right? There's no ads on here.
Sue us.
For the Superb Owl?
The Superb Owl 2018.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Say whatever you want about the quality of the football product this year. That game was fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
It was contrarian to the entire season of drama and mishaps and bad football and bad politics surrounding football and just abysmal things to watch. And
well, I don't know. That halftime show was pretty bad, dude.
Well, yeah. Well, it couldn't be all good. You can't get out or into 2018 or out of 2017 without a quick reminder.
Yeah, I would say maybe I don't know. Did either of you attend a gathering related to the game? I was at a friend's house, and they had a pretty rad setup with like TVs and outside and in every other room, so that people could kind of wander around the party freely and still be able to see.
We were in a similar situation. A couple of different TVs were going with the game, so if you were in the kitchen getting food, you could still be watching the action.
Right on. I would say that this podcast encapsulates very quick successive journey in adulthood that some people partake in, from pre-marriage to, if you go down that path, kids. And so we did not go to a party with a bunch of TVs and a lot of places to walk through. Instead, we got all the kids together and let them do a thing, and the adults went to one TV, mostly away from the children.
That seems to track with how I recall Super Bowls going when I was very young.
I don't think there's a better way to do it, honestly. I mean,
we would all go over to some friend, quote unquote's house, and the kids would kind of play together or whatever, and the adults would all kind of be standing in a different room watching TV. So it sounds like that tracks with what's going on over there.
For 52 years, I'm sure this is how it's been done.
Yes, probably.
just about every major holiday, half the birthday parties, they all sort of work the same way with kids around.
You really just have to kind of, unfortunately, self-segregate, I think, a little bit to the, like, well, we all have the kids, so we're not going to drag down everybody else's good time. You know? We'll just have a go at letting these guys tire each other out while we watch about a third of the game.
Yeah,
so.
And most years that would generally be an acceptable amount of the game to watch. This year was the rare exception where it was actually an exciting football game as well as the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was very good. I came up with a theory mid-game, which was don't bother looking at the score, look at the score and add 7 to the Patriots. And it worked out basically until the last drive did not end up in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of calculus the coach has to think of. Like, well, if the other team is probably going to score every time, you know, what's going to happen here?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, of course, that isn't the only thing. While the football was great, and we are all happy that the Eagles won, there's also the advertisements and the halftime show, which I guess the less said of the better, since I don't think anyone here liked it, although feel free to correct me.
Well, maybe we should give props slightly to the creating of maybe the best meme so far from a Super Bowl, which was the clueless kid.
the hero America deserves.
Yeah, Googling who is Justin Timberlake while standing next to him on camera.
My favorite one that I saw after the fact was someone replaced it with like Justin Timberlake, you know, and the kid is just Googling like, what is Bitcoin and like, how do I get in the blockchain? And, like, just completely ignoring the thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, the ads were all right. I don't know. Not much time to watch some of the ads. One stuck out to me, and then there was a little bit of a follow-up to it today. Did you guys catch the Lando Calrissian trailer?
What?
That's kind of a good way to put it.
Is it not the Lando movie?
No, I thought the movie was called Solo, a Star Wars story, which is a really dumb name.
No, that mustache begs to differ.
The giant fur coat that he was wearing.
Yeah, that too. Ooh.
Yeah, easily the most exciting thing in the ad space of the game for sure. Who followed up today and watched the whole thing?
I did.
So I did not.
Okay, so 2/3 of us watched the whole thing.
Do I need
Michael?
to bother?
Yes.
They talked.
Yes, they did talk.
Okay, so they had actual words. That's progress.
There was dialogue. You actually saw Han Solo. You heard him. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the first Star Trek reboot trailer.
Yeah.
With Chris Pine, where it's like him stealing the car and almost driving it over the cliff as a kid. It felt a lot like that to me.
Oh, it had that same voiceover-y, like, I wanted to be a pilot, but I got kicked out of the academy. You know? And so, some stuff about Han Solo that really I don't think tracks with the previous history, like how, you know... Yeah,
did he go to an academy? Like, I don't remember that being a thing.
There was definitely, like, because everyone kind of did, they had that backstory of they were trying to go through the Imperial Academy.
I see.
But they've added the I'm going to be the best pilot in the galaxy versus his previous backstory was just like I'm going to get rich, I'm going to get mine.
Well, people's goals in life can change over time.
Space pirate isn't a job you set out to get. Maybe.
Sure. Woody Harrelson had some words, so those were cool or something.
Yeah, I saw. You see a glimpse of Woody Harrelson's character in the first trailer. He was in this movie.
Sure.
In one of the in one of the director's cuts.
I could guess.
Yeah, man, guys, I get a lot of, there was a lot of bad press about this movie before this trailer came out.
Okay.
There trouble on the set, and they fired a director mid-movie and brought in another one, and reshoots, and the reshoots are pretty common these days, I guess. But it sounded like it was relatively troubled. Well. I just, I haven't been getting a good vibe from this whole project. Is the trailer turning your guys' opinion around at all?
The trailer for me looked semi off-brand, which is kind of the same feeling I got from Rogue One. And the set news out of Rogue One was, if you remember, hey, they threw out this whole movie and started over.
Right, yes, I do remember that. And
so
the end product was not bad.
I actually think it might be one of the best Star Wars movies, and certainly better than the new trilogy. And so, with only one film in the quote-unquote story saga, the outside the main line, it's hard to justify saying like that line of the movies is the new way that it's headed and going to be good. But they have more wriggle room, and so maybe this reshoots and stuff was worth it. Positivity?
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
They've also done a good job lately since they started with the new sets of movies of kind of obscuring what the movie's going to be actually about in the trailers. So
right, and
I've been sort of taking what they show us with a grain of salt as to what the final product will actually be.
Yeah, and I think that is wise given the kind of the nature of pop culture today, where everything gets analyzed to death before it even comes out.
Sure.
Like you said, you guys have already seen a second trailer for a trailer that was shown on TV once. And it's people are analyzing what does it mean, and there's no way to know what it means. So I can understand making a trailer a little misleading to kind of give you still some surprise when you get there.
I'm happy for that type of thing, and really, honestly, this trailer to me looks like somebody went into the edit room and was like, okay, guys, someone lay out in front of me every rendered shot of the Millennium Falcon that we have. Oh, we only have 8? Cool. Get them all over to the trailer team.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we only have so many finished shots here. Let's just use these.
Yeah, so, the trailer really kind of focuses on a sparkling new Millennium Falcon, and then, like, the Falcon doing other things. And then, really, Michael, I don't really recall because it's not in front of me, but other than adding in 1 or 2 shots of Han Solo, that's kind of it versus, like, some shots of the Millennium Falcon, some shots of Han Solo, and some voiceover, and that's basically it, plus the teaser. So, I know it's coming out Memorial Day. Also, Memorial Day? Why not Christmas? What happened to the every Christmas thing?
Did the other one come out on Christmas? The Rogue One?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was kind of getting excited that it was just like Disney owns Christmas. Back off.
I think now that you mentioned the interior of the Falcon, Andy, they show one shot of the hallway in just pristine white. And I think the funniest comment I saw about the trailer was someone who sat that picture next to a picture of the interior from one of the latest movies and asked the question, did Han just spend his entire career smuggling coffee and fertilizer?
Or, like, chain smoking. Right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, is he just like a proliferate smoker?
You know what? I don't want to be the bearer, like, that guy. but maybe it's the Wookiees' fault. I'm just saying. You know, like, it's clean and new, and then Han gets it, and he's got that friend that's basically a gigantic walking dog. And dogs are not clean animals, I'll tell you.
And then he has to let him win all the time, so he can't actually, you know, make him wash as much as he would. And I could see that being the thing.
Maybe. But yeah, it's very white.
There's no roguish charm in a well-groomed nerf herder.
Right, yeah. They got to be scruffy.
You know what? Hold on. I'm going to step in here for our younger listeners. They appreciate a shower, you know? Love interests, male, female, whatever. They appreciate a shower once in a while. You don't have to be, you know, scruffy's okay, but, like, don't paint the walls of your thing orange with your dirty habits.
We all agree that people should take showers because none of us are actually Wookiees or dogs or anything else.
Do you think they lick themselves clean like other animals, or do they like bathe? I'm sure this has been answered somewhere. Someone should email us.
I was going to say they must have answered that in the Christmas special somewhere. So.
Oh,
no. Yeah, I think we need an email, podcast@weweregamers.com. How do Wookiees clean themselves?
Yeah, there must be information on that in the EU somewhere.
So, unless anybody has any more revelations from a very limited subset of scenes from Han Solo, I want to talk about something else sparkly and new because I need some advice.
Okay.
The Office is functionally done.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Painted, assembled. I have a mental dilemma, however, of how many legacy systems should I hook up to this TV?
How many HDMI inputs does it have?
Well, it has 3, but we're talking legacy systems. So the Wii U fits on there just fine, but then we got to talk about how many things need that little video port, and if I'm going out and buying a Switch, like not a Switch, no, like a Nintendo Switch, but like, you know, a VGA Switch, like the original Switch that you would hook your TV up to that people don't have anymore.
Oh, I own one, and for the same reason.
Oh, okay. What is using up your Switch? It's not Nintendo Switch.
It's not. I haven't installed it here, but I had it installed, and one of the channels had my PS2 on it, and the other one had my Super Nintendo on it.
See, I've got the Super Nintendo, the N64, and the Atari all vying for attention, and I don't know that I need them all plugged in at once, but I wanted to see what your thoughts were on having like a legacy cabinet, or just moving on and plugging one in.
Yeah, so that's going to be, like, I'm going to come at it from the practical angle. Like, how many of those do you realistically expect to boot up semi-frequently?
This is why I ask these questions, JJ. You're always the one to rein me in.
And is the answer really none of them? Because then it doesn't matter what you do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good point.
And, you know, plug in my opinion, plug in what is easy to plug in and what is most likely to be played. And then at that point, after that, you have stuff available to you. And if you want to swap cables out because you get a hankering for Atari or whatever other thing, then, you know, hey, it's very possible to get behind a TV and to change cables. It's not that tough.
I think my greatest fear was if I plug all of this in, I have nowhere to put 9,000 controllers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cables with old generation consoles.
Right? Okay. I think I'm going with one. Never mind. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can arrange the controllers and wrap them and coil them and such in such a way that they look nice set out on a tabletop or, you know, in underneath a like a entertainment system or whatever. I don't know how it's set up in your room there. But you know, you can do things with controllers to make them look all right and, you know, keep them next to the system or whatever. Maybe that means you don't leave them plugged in or whatever. So, like, if that's really the concern, it can be overcome. But, like, the question is, how much does it matter?
Yeah, you know, another interesting track might be to look at my digital libraries and see, like, do I actually own all these N64 games digitally? Because then that could probably live in the closet.
Well, the answer to that is unlikely to be yes, because a lot of those games haven't ever come out again, with good reason. Right? I mean, like, I don't know how many N64 games you own, but, like, a lot of them deserve
Nintendo
to not
ones,
come back.
A lot of the Nintendo ones have been re-released for Wii, right? Like Mario 64 and all those you can get those on the Wii U and Wii eShops, which might have shut down by now. I have no idea. The Star Wars games, I think, have all been re-released, or no?
The N64 ones? No, I don't think so.
No.
Oh.
Unless they also came out on other platforms, no.
Yeah, I think the Rogue Squadron's a good one to have a question about whether that one ever came out again. Podcast at wewergamers.com, because we don't do the research during the pod.
Yeah. You know, my guess would be to you, if you think that those games have come out again in the past, and they weren't Nintendo, so like, you know, your Donkey Kongs and that kind of stuff, you could check like GOG, and if it's not there, kind of gonna be it. You know, like, everything is everywhere these days, so, you know, between GOG and Steam, if you can't find it, you know, unless it was like an Ubisoft game and maybe they put it on their thing, or Origin for some reason, but I don't think so. I don't think a lot of those N64 games came forward.
All right.
No, although the rumors are still swirling about the N64 Classic.
Oh, does anybody else want that? I want that.
I'm torn on that one. I don't know.
I'm good.
Nah. All right.
Oh.
Well, you guys all got your SNES classics.
Yeah.
So you're set.
Although speaking of that and cord issues, JJ, there's a company called 8-Bit Do, I think, and they put out all kinds of funky controllers. They came out with a wireless SNES Classic controller.
Ah, that's probably pretty nice.
Yeah.
You just plug into the ports it has? How does that work?
Just like a wireless mouse. You plug the receiver into the port, and then the controller talks to it.
And all the batteries and stuff are in your controller, I assume.
Yeah.
Radio transmitters and all that. It's kind of like a... Wow.
Yeah, I sit close enough to that thing where the cords are not that big of an issue if I'm going to get the SNES Classic out, but I can see that being really helpful. Since there are, like, the cords are long-ish, but not that long. Like, you couldn't stretch them all the way across a room. You would need to be in the vicinity of the TV.
Yeah, I just bought an extender for mine.
I think if I was going to go, you know, the wireless route with one of those, I would want to get one of those Super Nintendo controllers that is, like, actually a full modern real controller with analog sticks and 2 buttons on the back and everything.
Mm-hmm.
A non-cramp your hand controller?
Yeah. Although the SNES gamepad isn't that bad about cramping my hand.
The original one. Isn't the newer one smaller? The classic ones?
No, they seem
or
like
they're
they're
the same size
same
as the
size.
originals?
Yeah,
Okay.
they seem normal. But the I would want a full-size controller one with dual analog sticks and everything, so that then I could hook it up to my PC as well. And use it for that purpose. Because then I could just, you know, move the receiver back and forth between those two, since they're both in the same room in my house.
That would be nice.
Nice. Well, has everybody been playing SNES minis, or are we playing other stuff right now?
Still on the RPG train.
Trails in the Sky first?
Yes.
Are you still running into as many problems as you were a week ago, or...?
No, I got all the settings worked out, and I've just sort of slowly been making my way through some opening quests.
How much do you care about completion in that game?
We've been through this before.
As much as in a lot of the other RPGs that I play, which is to say, probably a little more than is healthy.
Okay, you may want to have a guide handy. While
Can
playing
you
that
miss
game.
things?
Yes.
Yes, you can. I did some pre-reading about it, so I understand a little bit about the
Okay.
missable things and how your final total carries forward to the next game.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And it isn't like the things that you get when the total carries forward are like super important. But it definitely is a thing. And if you care about having, a perfect notebook or whatever, your perfect bracer book, then you need to, because some of that stuff is easily missable, just because if you're like heading forward with the story, it's like go back a town and talk to someone and surprise there's something there.
Yeah.
Or like run across a field and there's a guy there for some reason and he has a quest for you now.
Yeah.
Or like stop in the middle of this thing and go do something random kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the one that seems to me to be the one that you would most need direction for are the ones where you're in the middle of a quest and you have two options when facing a task, and one of them will get you more points than the other one, but you don't know which one it is.
So the way the game tries to like instruct you about all of those sorts of things, right, is you're getting, I don't know, like gold stars essentially in a notebook or whatever for like when you do good deeds. They give you like, oh, good job, you cleared that monster off the roadway. Here's a nice gold star. And you're part of this organization called Bracers, and this is not a spoiler. This happens very quickly at the beginning of the game. And they essentially go around doing good deeds for people and sort of helping people with tasks in their lives that maybe they don't have time to do or whatever. And so there's like a code in that notebook that Bracers are supposed to follow. And so you can kind of like look at the code and guess like this would be the better thing in this situation, right? Like, oh, it's better for me to help this person in this way rather than this other way because that's closer to following the Bracer code or whatever. But it can be ambiguous, definitely. And like I said, that's what, if you really do want all those points, I recommend maybe watching and or at least having a guide handy. Yeah,
I've got one that I found that seems to be pretty good so far.
I may have to steer clear of that game. It sounds like my kryptonite. This is from me who played the demo of Bravely Default years after the game came out because it came with some items I didn't need before I played the real game. So that sounds like that game will drive me nuts.
Actually, though, it isn't that bad. I mean, yes, there are... The side quests in the game are not as, like, overly plentiful as they are in some other RPGs. Mm-hmm. And since I played it anyway, they have implemented the turbo mode, which I don't know if... Have you been using that, Michael?
Oh, it is so nice for running back and forth between places. You just turn it on and the maps just sort of glide by.
It is essentially a button that you can just hold down, and it's configurable through the launcher for the game that will speed up both cutscenes and gameplay, including battle gameplay, and just like you can run everything at like from 2 to like 8x time or something, and your guys just fly across the screen. It'll stop when text boxes pop up or whatever, but like pretty much you could just go as like, oh, I need to run back to the other side of the map because I missed a treasure chest or whatever. Okay, it takes 10 seconds of real time, right? And you just go, woo! So that is a pretty nice measure, which I did not have when I played the game, and is real helpful.
Oh, yeah. So one thing...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, one other thing I did notice that kind of surprised me, actually, because I couldn't think of another RPG that used, or I guess didn't use this mechanic, but there doesn't seem to be any RNG involved in fleeing from battle. So, maybe I just have I've had the best luck so far, but every single time I've gotten into a fight that my characters are too weak for and have fled from it, it's been instant. As long as it was my turn, they ran away.
Interesting.
I don't know how the fleeing mechanic works in those games.
I think if you've never run away, you're not a coward.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I definitely have run away. But I think if you get if the monster touches you first, because like there's a thing where if you touch the monster in the back, you get preemptive attack, or if it touches you, it can surround you or whatever. I think if you get surrounded, I don't know that the fleeing is going to work immediately, but maybe it does. I don't know.
As soon as it's your turn, so they get first
so the monster would
action.
get to attack first, right? Yeah,
Right.
that would be the difference.
But there still
Nice.
doesn't seem to be any chance that you can't flee.
Yeah, I feel the combat in those games starts off very slow, if only because the number of things you can do is pretty limited in the beginning. You only have a few different types of magic or of quartzes that you can slot into your various slots. You don't have all the slots unlocked. You don't have a lot of the systems that come into play once you start getting better and fancier items to slot in for your magic. And so you kind of don't get a lot of options. And then as the game goes on, you get more people, you specialize a lot more, and you start seeing a lot more systems open up. It's a lot of fun, man. I can tell you. I really enjoyed both of those first two Trails in the Sky games.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it and looking forward to sinking some hours.
Speaking of which, JJ,
Yes.
you enjoyed them so much that you've been doing what now?
I've enjoyed them so much that I have recently, coming off my seeing the credits in Xenoblade 2, which we'll save a discussion on that for when we have some other people to talk with it about, maybe.
Yeah, and hours, right?
Yeah, there's time. But I have started playing another Trails in the Sky game called Trails in the Sky the Third, which is the end of the sort of trilogy of games that are called Trails in the Sky. And
That's not related to Cold Steel comes after.
right, so like chronologically, Cold Steel will come after, although maybe Cold Steel 1 takes place before the third. No, it probably takes place after still. I don't know how the calendar works because the world is the same. And like the timelines are kind of confusing a little bit. Games kind of overlap each other in some places.
Can I ask you a question that makes you dig into this for a little bit?
Sure.
This is how many? This will be your fifth one or third?
This would be my so I played
fourth one that you've played.
Yeah, I played Trails in the Sky FCS first chapter and then second chapter, and then I played Cold Steel 1, and now I'm playing third.
And each one's what, 40 hours?
It depends. So like the first Trails in the Sky game is shorter. SC like is quite a bit longer. I think my Steam shows like 80 hours. Although it's hard to guess because like you leave it open sometimes and stuff, especially on the computer, like walk away and come back or whatever. Cold Steel was probably another like 70 hours. I hear that third is quite a bit shorter than either of those two. Because it's more of a dungeon crawling kind of game as opposed to like a big story RPG. So there's a lot more combat and stuff. And because I really, really don't care about the combat in these games, I have turned the difficulty down to easy and I'm just blowing right through it.
Story mode.
Pretty much. Yeah. So I am, there is a lot of really interesting, like ties to this game. The third seems to follow one of the characters who you meet in the second chapter, but maybe don't really get to know that well. He's kind of mysterious. And then he sort of follows him around on some adventures that happen after the conclusion of that game. And there is definitely some stuff that puts some of the events of the second chapter in a new light, let's say. And they're definitely laying groundwork and stuff for other things that are supposed to happen later as well. So, yeah, I'm liking it. It is, like I say about all of these games, the music is really fantastic. The battle system is the same as it was in those first two games with like minor tweaks around the edges such that it's really not that important. Mm-hmm. But man, the levels and stuff kind of carry over. So you don't start again at level 1. Like your characters start at like 97 or something when you come into this game, because that's like where you ended, like the second chapter.
Oh, wow. So yeah, overall, it sounds most like you're getting dragged back through these maybe last two entries that you've done just for story purposes.
So
or world's purposes.
Yeah, so it's like world building stuff, right? So like the order, if they had all come out in this order when I had started playing them, would have gone like the first chapter, the second chapter, the third chapter, and then you would start Cold Steel, and Cold Steel 2, which is coming out later this month, I think. So like in terms of like the timeline of when the games came out, right? Like you should play them in the release order. There's not really a good reason to go back or try to do like machete order on the games or anything like that. Even though they do kind of like some of them intertwine with each other.
A+.
Yeah, it's good, right? That was a good. And like, and then complicating everything is that there are 2 games that come after the third, but before Cold Steel 1 that were never released in English. And the events of Cold Steel 1 and 2 kind of hint at the stuff that's happening there, and you're starting to see it now in the third they're talking about, that country where the 2 unreleased games take place. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I hear that Cold Steel 3, which is out in Japan, spoils a ton of what happens in those 2 unreleased games. So I will be interested to hear, because like the timelines of those games kind of converge at that point. The like big event that happens at the end of those 2 games is happening during Cold Steel 3, and so people are like, how are they going to present this to people who in English who have never seen any of that stuff? Like they won't know, right? You want the context.
Is there a chance they translate those at all?
I suppose it's possible. Anything is possible.
So with the Japanese RPG, you kind of know what you're getting along a lot of the time, and that's a story, but maybe also somewhat discombobulated, incoherent at places, interconnected, but at the same time somewhat disjointed. A lot of that is translation and cultural differences between, you could just play a more linear, direct story in a Western RPG and a much more self-reflective, maybe is the right word, story for a Japanese RPG. What is the element, I guess, of this that doesn't make you feel lost 4 games in?
So, and I think maybe even Michael would be able to speak with this, but it is the way they have built this world, and so how you have sort of grown up with the characters, right? Like it starts off in such a way that the beginning of the game, you are one girl in one town in one country, and you just want to become like a cool adventurer, right? Would you say that that's pretty like accurate, Michael?
Pretty much sums it up, yeah.
And then you go and kind of do some of that stuff, and then over time, like you go on some like kind of interesting adventures as part of being a cool adventurer, and then like some stuff goes down, and part of being a cool adventurer means you have to like solve problems when stuff goes down. And so, you do that, and the characters kind of progress a little bit, and then some, really big stuff goes down, and now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, we need to like really figure out what's going on here. And the stakes kind of get raised gradually over time with these characters that you've known for a while. And then when you move on to the next set of games, it still takes place in the same continent. Like it's not even it's a different country, but like they talked, like you met the prince of that country already in one of the previous games. He was like your bro in that game, and now he's over here and you're meeting him through different people in that country. Oh, it turns out that this prince is not well thought of in his own country. Like he's kind of being ruled by these other political factions that are going on over here, and like you get all this internal politics to this much bigger country from this much smaller one that you were in before. And the world is all consistent, and the things are all happening at the same time. They reference the same places. They talk about the same events. They're like, oh yeah, do you remember when this crazy thing happened over there? And you're like, oh yeah, I played through that in the second chapter or whatever. And
it sounds very much from the outside, having never played it, but it sounds very much like being engrossed in a series of like fantasy novels where maybe it's not the most immersive experience, but it's certainly an experience where you want to know what's happening in that kingdom over there that you heard about.
Yes, I think that is a very good analogy.
Awesome.
And so, the way they do that interconnection is what keeps me going on this series.
Awesome. Okay. Well, so I think that this many games in with multiple people playing it, we have to really officially give that the stamp of worth your time.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially the first, start there, start with the first chapter. It goes on sale frequently, for good prices, and people can jump into that and see if they like it. And if I believe it's also most of these games are also available on either the PS3, the Vita, or PS4. So if people want to play them, they are also available there.
Nice. I guess I should jump in with, I have not been playing RPGs recently. And while I almost finished with Leighton and his mysteries, I haven't had a ton of time due to other work and stuff, so I continued an old project, JJ, and one that you will become very intimately acquainted with, Michael. We call it the phone cleanout.
Oh, baby. It's been a while for one of these.
Yeah, so when the phone, over Thanksgiving, that's the word, Thanksgiving, I think I mentioned on the pod that I got a new phone, one of those big old iPhone 8s. And I didn't straight transfer everything. I wanted to start fresh and clean, so I reinstalled apps and everything else like that. And I finally finished that process this past week of finding every app that I could on my old phone that I still wanted to put back on there. And right away, I noticed that about eight of the games that I had decided to save when we had last discussed the phone cleanout just aren't available anymore. Just gone.
Yeah, that sounds right.
They don't work with the OS anymore, and so they've been removed from the store. And much like we've discussed in the past, it's unfortunate that they don't support these things that long. But I've come up with a new theory on that, and more on that at the end. Some of them have been re-added as different apps. They're not the same. So, like, Plants vs. Zombies is a game that I purchased for my phone. And it was like a $5 game or so. And you literally got the same game that was on the computer, and it was on your phone. And that version of the game is gone. And it's been replaced with something that is free-ish, also not free-ish, kind of like some bastardized version of its old self with ads all over it, basically. Like, watch this video to get free sunlight.
Is there a lot of, like, buy this for best value kind of stuff there?
You know what? They don't best value you because the first game was so popular they didn't want to make anybody mad by, like, removing stuff from it. The second game is very much best value-ish on buying plants. But the first game has now become, like, okay, this ad is now rolling over the screen. If you click it, you get extra sunlight to build your plants. Oh, you don't want to view it? Okay, I guess not. And it does it to you every level, So I'm just done with anything that pops up. Do you want to watch a video to get extra stuff for your game? Which led me to delete 5 games off my phone that were all games that I had purchased in the past for $3 or $4 that had since gone through iOS compatibility revamps and been re-added to the store that I still had access to, but were completely different games. And more so than just being disappointed by something like Plants vs. Zombies having changed to, like, click this ad for more of a thing you don't need because you know how to play games. But instead you still have to sit through this video. Plants vs. Zombies is kind of out there, but Angry Birds was a game. Do you remember that game, you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I definitely played the original.
Yeah, I mean, it was after, Paper Toss, it became the game everybody had on their phone, right?
I had a couple of different versions at one point.
So did I.
A lot. I don't think I ever played more than the first one, but I remember it got pretty big.
All those games have been removed and re-added, and they are all now free to play, but you got to have those timers and best values and watch ads for extra things, you guys.
Spaceballs 2: The Hunt for More Money.
Well, you know what?
Yep.
You know what's sad about it though is because when you get into all that, the simplicity of Angry Birds of just drag, pull, and launch has been lost in like items. And now that your birds have tons of items all over the screen and they do different things, and the mechanic of, oh, you get like 5 different birds by the end of the game and they behave differently is gone. The simplicity is gone. And so those all have been deleted as well. Those are now bad games. No good anymore.
That's a shame.
So what you're saying, Andrew, is that you are never playing phone games ever again, because that's kind of what it sounds like.
You would be wrong.
Because those are the things that are in every single phone game.
You'd be wrong. I have to say that I was soured on the entire experience, having lost 6 games in the transfer because they didn't work anymore, and also deleting about 5 others because they had gone free to play. I was pretty sour, and I loaded up another game called StarCommand, which I think is out there still. It's a pretty old game. It's really simple. It's like a predecessor to FTL.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody on here has played FTL before.
Oh, yeah, FTL is rad.
Oh, yeah, we should do a FTL episode at some point. But, so essentially you have a starship. It's the Union starship that you get. You can pick like one of 2 layouts. And you're a member of the Space Union, which is a bunch of humans, basically. And you have a crew and a ship, and on the ship is 2 weapon areas, a science area, and 2 engineering areas, and you can kind of add different rooms to those things to customize your ship and how it functions. And then you buy crew with these tokens, and the tokens are not like best value tokens; they're like game mechanic tokens. They essentially become like scrap, right? After a battle, you get tokens instead of some sort of monetary or fictional currency. You just get like red, blue, and yellow tokens to kind of simplify the visual. The game is very clickable with your finger for how tiny it is. I mean, picture FTL, right? Like with those tiny little areas your people move on to, how hard that is to do without a mouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very clickable. It's very easy to do, despite the fact that it is very similar to that layout of a game. And it was not free. I had bought it at one point. But somehow, amazingly, they still sell it, and they still keep it up to date. So somewhere out there, people are still making games for phones that are good. And I wanted to give a shout-out to StarCommand. It's a pretty good game.
Okay, well, that's rad. I'm surprised to hear that there are still games sold like that.
I was shocked that it was still one of the functional games, because it was a game that I got when the first iPad was released, and it still functions and still sold today. And yeah, maybe it's not the most complicated game, but it's, you know what? It's a phone game, you guys.
True.
It doesn't have to be complicated. All right. Do we have time to squeeze in some news? Because I'm done talking about my phone. I'm done playing it for a while.
Yeah, we got a little time.
Let's do it.
Yeah? Anybody want to talk about the big happenings with Civ?
Yeah. Man,
right.
They are releasing a Civ update, an expansion.
Civ 6. Civ 6 is
Civ
kind of
6, yeah.
It's kind of tapered out of the lexicon a little bit faster than Civ 5 did. Is this going to save it?
Who knows? I have no idea. But I do know that in the course of playing Civ 5 and its various expansions, the game got significantly better after you added those expansions in. So I am hopeful that this will follow the same suit of they add in the expansion and the game is significantly better. I know I haven't kept up with. I know Civ 6, that is, got several sizable patches. I don't know what was in all of those because I wasn't playing it actively, but I think I will be going back to get me some Civ after this expansion releases.
All right. What's the biggest feature you're most excited for in that patch, other than new factions?
There are new Civs coming. I know that they've released several of them. Scotland, the Mapuche, I think the Zulu, several other ones that I can't remember. But one of the big features that I'm excited for. They're calling them like I think it's Heroic Ages and Dark Ages. And they're sort of tied to the way your Civ is progressing versus how all the other Civs in the world are progressing. And you get these goals at the beginning of an age, and the better you complete them and the more you complete of them, the higher your sort of total and your rank is. And once you cross a certain threshold, you can enter a heroic age where your civilization gets bonus output and stuff for the next period of time. And you get bonuses, and it helps you grow faster or expand better, or it empowers your troops or whatever based on the different things. Or if you lag behind significantly with what the rest of the world is doing, then you can enter a dark age where you receive penalties and stuff because your civilization is like falling behind, right?
Oh no!
Kind of like in the real world, where after the barbarians swooped in and Europe kind of settled into a less technologically advanced time than other parts of the world. They used to call it at least the Dark Ages. And so now they kind of have kind of a little push and pull there that sort of makes you want to keep up with these various goals that are being set throughout the world. And that sounds like a really cool system.
It kind of takes away the old way of playing Civ. I don't know if you guys did the same thing or if you guys, there's kind of two ways to play Civ. There's the way of like, I'm going to play this Civ the way it's designed to be played, and the canonistic kind of way. And then there's the min-max direction where it's like, I clicked my science tree at the very beginning of the game, and I'm going for science victory, and I only ever build science anything, and I don't know how to write yet, and it's 1480, but I sure know how to make a nuclear reactor. This seems to counteract that way of play.
I don't know that it does, though, because the goals are different, right? It's not just like technology-based or civics-based. If you remember in Civ 6, science and civics are on separate trees and are researched separately.
Oh, okay.
So that is something to think about. But the heroic age stuff, the things that trigger them are not always going to be based on those trees either. There are military things you can do to earn points and stuff like that.
It sounds also like a Seven Wonders mechanic. Like, I have the biggest army, yeah. I have the biggest science.
Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs of the system, but it does seem like that a little bit, yes. And another system they're adding for people to play with is and I think this used to be in other Civ games. I don't remember it from Civ 5, but maybe one or both of you can correct me on that. Is the idea of governors. You can install individual governors in certain cities.
Oh, cool.
And then that will cause that city to gain certain bonuses towards various parts of the city based on the governor's personality and like what the governor specializes in. So it's like, oh, you can install this governor here, and then this city becomes more oriented towards production, but the science takes a big hit, and the morale is lower or something. I don't know what I don't know what the bonuses are. But and then there are various different governors that you have access to over the course of the game.
That sounds like a cool mechanic.
Yeah, at least individualizes your cities rather than just having spammed them out all over the map. You have to, start to think about each city again.
Well, and you don't have to put a governor there either, right? So you still can just spam cities everywhere and, sort of win by, I don't know, what's that? Just kind of like take over all the land, right?
Manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny, there we go. But it does give you some options, and the governors convey some decent bonuses, so it sounds like having them will be beneficial for people that want to do that.
Sweet. Well, as we head out of this episode today, I want to get a thumbs up, thumbs down. And since we're on a podcast, you're probably going to have to say thumbs up or thumbs down. Mario is going to be made into a movie by Imagine Entertainment, the guys that make Minions, I think. Is the Secret Life of Pets, those types of animation firm?
I believe it's Illumination.
Illumination, not Imagination. You're right. I can't speak. It's sitting right in front of me. I'm looking at the word Illumination. We've lived through some dark Nintendo movie times where they've tried this before.
The last Super Mario Brothers movie comes to mind.
The Zelda TV show.
I consider that last Super Mario Brothers movie to be canon, so I think that's where it starts and where it ends as far as I'm concerned.
Well, so he's going to be a thumbs down. Thumbs up.
Thumbs in my pockets.
Michael is withholding judgment.
Yeah, it might have gotten a tentative thumbs up, and then Andy said Secret Life of Pets, and now I'm just sort of turned off.
Oh.
Yeah, super disappointed by that one.
The trailer for that movie was better than the movie.
The trailer was all the good points, and there was nothing else.
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't watch a lot of animated movies these days.
All right. 1 thumbs 3/4 of the way up because these guys are so negative. I'm changing my mind. And 2 hands in pockets.
I was going to say, there's JJ with our catchphrase again.
Oh, yeah. Hey, way to go,
hey.
JJ.
Look at this on brand right here.
Consistent messaging. It's key.
Yeah. All right. We have to do the socials.
Yes, and if people want to get at those, we are at We Were Gamers on Instagram and on Twitter and everywhere else fine podcasts are distributed. You can email us at podcast@weweregamers.com, and we will respond to them as needed. There are rad things on our Facebook page, so please go there and like that and give us rad reviews on the podcast stores.
And as always, these episodes come out on Wednesday. And JJ, give me the rough feeling of everybody's mood on a Wednesday afternoon knowing there's 2 more days of week left.
Meh.